Hello, everyone. I don't know how many people are actually watching right now. I forgot to update my Instagram to post again, but we're going to prom tonight. In
Yeah.
case you were wondering, that's why I have a tiara and this nice sash. But yeah, welcome to the very first episode of Big Dumb Monsters Summer Camp. I am Spooky in the Stacks, aka Amanda, aka AJ, aka Chris's wife. You might have heard me before on here, but here I am back and on the camera, which is really anxiety inducing for me, but it's okay. We're gonna do it anyway. All right. And today I have a very, very special guest. We have Nightmare Christie with us, who is the co-owner of Nightmare Toys in Las Vegas, a girl boss, pinup model, spooktacular entrepreneur, as the internet has said, and just all around badass. And we're really excited to have you here. Welcome, Christy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm totally honored for your first show.
Yeah, and what a show it is because we are talking Carrie.
Yeah.
Which I mean, what a great time of year to do Carrie as a podcast for a book and for a film. It's the end of June, which is like kind of like coming up on the end of prom season. It's really like graduation season, but it's definitely timely, I think.
Oh yeah. Definitely, definitely. Did you go to prom?
Oh my god, that was gonna be one of my questions was, like, just about prom, because prom is kind of like a haunted experience. Am I correct? Yeah? Like, just in general? It
A
can
little
be
bit.
it can be just awkward and spooky in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um, my my prom wasn't too exciting.
Yeah.
We didn't really do anything fun. My ex-boyfriend's prom was way more fun. I went to his like the next year, when I was already graduated, and that was a lot more fun because his was at like a fancier place in Manhattan, and mine was like in a place that was sinking because of like pollution or something. I don't know. It's very weird. Um, but yeah, um, Chris has a good haunted prom story, but I don't know if his mic's on.
I can switch over. Hold on.
Okay, do it.
Give me one moment.
I like your haunted prom story. It's my favorite.
My story's the same as yours, so that's kind of odd. Like I had a boyfriend at the time, but he went to a different school. My prom was boring. I
Yeah.
didn't like it. And then I went to his prom and I had a dang good time. Like it was great. And I guess maybe because it was another school and people I didn't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like totally fun. Like they were having a good time in mine, which was like,
Yeah, and there was no
like
one to judge me because I didn't really know anybody because I went to an all girls school and he went to an all boys school. So it was
oh,
like a little different. All right. Wait, no, don't
Wait,
now,
just want to switch you back.
yeah, I was gonna say, okay, now tell us your prom story, Chris. Now that I'm making you switch cameras rapidly. It's just for fun.
All right. So my prom. I am not a huge Dave Matthews fan. My prom was ruined by Dave Matthews himself. No
oh,
joke. The place. Well, like I suppose if you're a Dave Matthews fan, the story is Dave Matthews made our prom awesome. But our the venue where our prom was about 200 yards away from the stage at this like, giant state park where he was playing concert. So our entire prom was just Dave Matthews music, just blaring through like overpowering prom music. One of the reasons why I cannot stand Dave Matthews.
And you haven't been back to Six Flags ever since either.
I have not been back to Six Flags since the day after that prom. Yeah.
Prom is just
That's unrelated to Dave Matthews.
I remember there was a lot of drama leading up to my prom because this girl I went to school with was really her mom was like Carrie White's mom, like religious like esque. And me and my best friend made plans to go to Rocky Horror, like a midnight show of Rocky Horror in the Village, like as our after prom. And everybody else was okay with it, and even the girl, like even the daughter was okay with it, but the mom found out and she like called my mom up and started calling my mom like a sinner and all this shit. Like it was crazy.
oh my God.
Needless to say, I'm not friends with that girl anymore. Her mom was like, "Don't talk to her. She's the devil." So my mom was like, gonna go to Rocky Horror and get big penises. It's fine.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah. My
There's
mom's
always
like, I
weird.
went and they made me come up on the stage and they gave me a big blow up penis that I threw out in the garbage so your grandmother didn't see it. I'm like, that's awesome. So
That
that's
is
her fun. That's the most haunted thing that happened at my prom. But Carrie, so I watched the movie again today and it's always been a favorite of mine. I would say, I don't know. I think it's a solid 10 out of 10 movie for me. Like, there's just so much to talk about and unpack. And dare I say it, I think Carrie is kind of a feminist icon. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I agree with that. I guess I never really thought of that until you just now said that. But yeah, I think so.
And I was thinking about it too, and like I was reading a couple articles because like I was like, I consider this like feminist literature almost, and also just like a feminist movie because
Yeah.
like so much of it, like I mean, like it basically starts with menstrual blood.
Right.
Like, what's more feminist than talking about our periods, guys?
Right.
Like, yeah, that part in it just blows my mind every time because I'm just like, imagine if you got your period and you didn't know what your period was. Like, that is fucking frightening.
Scary. Yeah, very scary to be in the shower like that and then that happens.
Periods are very scary.
Yes, they can be. I agree with that.
PCOS, guys, look it up. It's real fun. It's so fun to be a woman.
I think it's great that, or interesting that the whole movie just starts out like, bam, here's naked chicks in the shower, and then she starts her period. Like, that's like a really
it's
like
very the music and stuff. Like her theme song is like very like it's the flutes and it's like very like la 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 going in a spring meadow.
Right.
I will say that all of them in the beginning in the locker room, it's hi Donner. Yes, he agrees. I think all of them in the locker room, like I was like, we didn't really have a locker room in my gym class. Like it was kind of just like we all just changed in like the big bathroom, which I guess like makes it kind of a locker room. But like I was like, we weren't like talking to each other. We were like, let's get in and out as fast as possible. Like we didn't shower or anything like in like because our gym classes. I mean, I went to an all girls school. Our gym classes were not that intense. But yeah, I was just like, they all use the same soap in their shower. Like Carrie was like using soap in there. I was appalled by that. I was like, that's scary.
It's a little funky.
Yeah. There was just two soaps there, like she was washing herself, and she looks like so calm and serene. I'm like, where has that soap been? Holy shit.
Right.
No.
Bring your own soap.
Yeah, I was like, I would bring mine in my little like soap case, like yeah. So gross, but
yeah, we had showers when I was in junior high. That's when we had to start taking showers.
Oh my god, that's the worst time. Because that's even more awkward than high school.
Yep, 6th grade is when, for me, it was 6th and 7th grade that we.
Let me tell you, as somebody who works in the education field, middle schoolers are feral. They are just psychopaths. Like, like the high schoolers, like they were pretty bad in this movie. And I work with high schoolers, and like they can be brutal to each other, but like nothing like middle schoolers. Like they don't care who you are. They will. I think there's a John Mulaney bit where like they're like he says something like middle schoolers will like find your one insecurity and like just put it on blast for like everybody. And I'm like, that's so real. Like they're like, oh, you're insecure about your nose being too big. Fuck you, big nose. And it's like, ah.
I didn't have to deal with that.
But yeah, that first scene gets me every time. Just. I feel like in the book that scene is a little different. I think like everybody is more taken aback. Like at first, like it does end up with them like all like kind of like razzing on her in the shower. But like at first they're like, wait, what the fuck is happening? Like, whereas I feel like it immediately turns into in the movie like let's shit on Carrie and throw tampons at her, which as a high schooler, it's like it's awful to see that happen to her, but it's like. Her reaction, like I mean, even the teacher says, like I wanted to shake her and like be like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" So it's just like a really like I felt like very conflicted during that scene.
Yeah, it's a very powerful scene, very emotional. And us being women, we can kind of, obviously relate somewhat. So
yeah,
I
I
was
remember.
a little confused because, I'm not trying to give out too much information, but I was 11.
Oh my God, I was like 10 too. Yeah. So
Oh,
the first time I got it, I was at home, but I can't imagine
Yeah.
the first time. Like, there's an episode of, I don't know if you've ever watched Degrassi,
mm-mm.
The Next Generation. Well, there's an episode where the girl gets her period in school, like, and she has to like change her pants and stuff like that. And everyone was like making fun of her, and she got up in front of the classroom and she was like, "It's just my period. It's nothing to be laughing about." And everyone like, "Shut up." And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I could never. That would never be me. I would have been
No,
like,
me neither. I was like,
mortified to like go to the bathroom to like change the pad. Like,
Yeah. I was
horrified.
mortified to even ask the teacher, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And then they'd be like, "No," but I'm like, "But I need to go."
My mom was like, just tell them. I'm like, I'm not going to tell my teacher I have my period. Are you on crack? Like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But
That's funny.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's crazy when they all start throwing the tampons at her and yelling, "Plug it up!" Like, I know. I'm like, where do they come up with this shit? Like, it's crazy.
The bullying was horrible.
And think about the fact that this was 1976, right? I said 79 on my Instagram and it was wrong, and someone immediately corrected me. I'm like, fuck. But imagine that with social media.
Oh my God.
And I can't remember. I know there was the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz, which like I saw one time and then I never watched again. But I can't remember like how much social media was in that one.
There's 2 remakes actually.
There's 2002 one, right? Also,
yes, that was like a TV one. It's really good. I like all of them. And then Rage 2, Carrie 2, Rage, The Rage. I like that one too.
I like the musical, which I have notes about the musical, which we'll get to later. But holy shit, the musical is just chef's kiss. So good.
I have not seen the musical, but on my bonus features, they were talking about that, and they were very proud of the musical.
Oh God, it closed after. It's like one of the shortest running Broadway musicals of all time. Like, so sad, but I would love to see a high school do that, like as their play. Like, I think that would be
cool. Or even kind of somewhat recreate the prom.
Yes. Oh my God. I was thinking about that while I was watching the prom scene. I was thinking about what a great immersive experience it would be if somebody threw the prom, like the prom under the stars, and then like halfway through, like shit starts going crazy.
Right. That'd be fun. That'd be a real fun prom. Now, I want to mention this. So again, I was watching my bonus features, and I know in the book they talk about when she was 3. Now, I haven't read the book since I was a teenager, but I kind of remember a little bit of stuff. But they talked about when she was 3 and she can do the stones flying or, in the house and all that. That was actually supposed to be the beginning of the movie.
I was just going to ask you if that was on the bonus features, because it annoyed me that it's not in there, because I really like that part of the book. Like I like that it was like, this has been like, it's been leading up to this part, and like kind of as she hits puberty is when her powers like come into full effect, which I think is again powerful feminist statement right there. Like,
yeah, totally. Yeah, it would have been a little different if they would have put that in there. I would have liked that in there and seen that like little flashback thing or whatever what happened, because they said what would have happened, that would have been the first thing, because it would have been like a flashback thing, and then the next cut would be then to the shower stuff.
Right.
We took that out.
It's weird because like the book to movie differences, like I mean, obviously every time you bring something that's a book to feature film, it's going to be different. Like, they're going to have to make changes and stuff like that. And there's no real way to get across one of the scariest aspects of the book, which I think is that she's in their thoughts. Like, they're like, oh, I just thought about Carrie White and I don't know why. Like, just that her telekinesis does like transcend, like, I can move shit with my mind. She's like, I am in your mind, like making you do stuff. Like, so I like that's kind of one of the biggest disappointments for me, like from book to movie, but there was just no way for them to really convey that, I don't think.
Right. And the ending's different. That I remember too. Yeah. They actually, they mentioned that, but the ending that they did do, that's what they actually really wanted to do anyway.
That's what I was gonna say. Stephen
But I
King
like
is on
it.
record saying that he prefers the movie to his actual book.
Yeah.
Which as far as like Stephen King stuff, I know I'm gonna like lose like a million like horror points in the community when I say this, but he's not my favorite horror author. I like his earlier stuff a lot more than I like his later stuff because I mean something like Carrie, it's short, sweet, to the point, and my issue with him sometimes is that he gets a little male gazy sometimes, and he's like she
Mhm.
breasts boobily across the earth, and it's like okay, I don't care. And then also, like, I think he's just overstated at sometimes. Like, he just says a bunch, like, he gets really descriptive where it's like, some people do really appreciate that, but like, I'm a person that's like, just get to the point, bro. Like,
Right.
what? Um, so that's why I really do like Carrie. And I recommend it to a lot of my high school students who are looking to get into Stephen King
Yeah.
or just into the horror genre, like in general. I think it's a really great launch point because of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good book to read and movie to watch. I mean, the book's not like real, thick or anything.
No.
So yeah, and
And
I feel like it goes along with the movie pretty. But there's just a few little differences here and there and stuff.
yeah, the other thing too, which we'll talk about Weight of Blood also, which is kind of a Carrie retelling. But another thing I really like about the book that there's really not a way to translate it to the movie was that there was a lot of like little newspaper clippings and interviews and
Hmm.
things like that, and I think that moves it along very quickly as well. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, they wanted to put a little bit of that in there, but they ended up not doing that. They talked about
Yeah,
that.
I can't imagine that it wouldn't like I think it would just kind of like make the movie off track like a little bit.
Right.
I don't know how it would be cohesive. So I kind of
Right.
agree with that.
The one
Um
thing I didn't know though, was that Stephen King actually wrote Carrie as a short story.
yeah.
That I
It's a
did
very
not.
long short story.
Right. And he trashed it. And
Yeah.
then got it out of the trash, and then things moved along.
I think his wife dug it out of the trash because she
Yeah,
read
I
the
think
period thing and she was like, "Whoa, this is so legit." And it was like an exercise for him because somebody was saying he didn't know how to write women, which I mean, sometimes I kind of agree with, but Harry, I think he's really good at writing the
Mhm.
women. And apparently, like when it eventually went to the publisher, like all the women were like freaking out about like how great that first scene in the locker room is, and how much they like related to it and how much it hit home for them. Um, yeah, girls are fucking assholes sometimes. I will
Yeah.
say,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
As someone who went to an all-girls school, I can tell you, girls can be assholes sometimes.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I couldn't go to an all-girls school.
It was actually like my year was pretty chill, but like a lot of the younger, like the people above me and below me were pretty savage.
Boo.
Yeah, I'm glad. I thank God every day that I didn't grow up with social media. Like I was kind of the last
Right.
generation to go through school without like I mean like we had MySpace and Facebook was like just coming to popularity like as I was graduating high school. Um but I'm really glad that I didn't live in the constant social media age because I really don't know how children function.
Yeah,
I
right,
really
no, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I'm sure, way older than you, so when I graduated, there really wasn't anything. I graduated in '96. So, yeah, there wasn't nothing going on then, no
Yeah, you're
social.
closer to Chris's age. I graduated high school in 2009, so
Oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm the young spring chicken of this relationship, as I love to remind my husband. Um, but yeah, so the Weight of Blood, which I'll come back to it also, but Weight of Blood is a Carrie retelling. Um, and the thing that's really interesting about it is the girl who is the Carrie character, her name is Maddie. She is mixed race. So the scene in the shower is so she's living life like she's gone through high school up to this point as a mixed race like girl, and basically they are tortured, like you know what I mean, like the girls are being rude to her and they get her hair wet and that's how they figure out that she is mixed race. So a lot of the things that happen to her and a lot of the hazing things, like the tampon thing, doesn't happen, but it's like something with like it's based off a real news story where they were like throwing things in her hair.
Oh.
And like basically just making fun of her for being black. Um, and it's based off of something that really happened in the South where they were videotaping it and it wound up surfacing on social media and it caused like a shit storm basically.
Oh.
And the the kids lost like I think their graduation, like they couldn't like walk at graduation. So she basically takes Tiffany D. Jackson takes that as a basis. And she set Carrie in a school that is basically still segregated. Like they have a segregated prom. And due to that social media shitstorm, the school decides to desegregate the proms because now that there's like a spotlight on their school. So they're like, hey, we can't be openly racist anymore. We have to like make some kind of we have to make some kind of like attempt to not be assholes. So that's basically what happens is that they decide to desegregate the prom and then like all of the racist kids at school are very upset about that because they want their separate proms. And the Tommy character is like the school sweetheart basically, and he's also black. But basically they accept him because he's a sports kid. So there's like that dynamic as well. So his girlfriend basically in an act of like performative bullshit like says, I think you should take Maddie to prom, so that that's how it ensues. And instead of the mom, it's her dad is like the batshit crazy.
Oh.
So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting spin on Carrie. And the segregated prom thing is also based on a real story, which I thought was wild. And it was like only a couple of years ago. And it's like really happened in the South.
Oh my God. Where? Wait a minute. Where? Do you know?
Let me see.
God.
In the book,
Probably Alabama. That's where I lived, if you can't tell. My accent.
Springfield. Yeah. I don't remember, but I'll look up the I was gonna say maybe Chris can do it on his computer. Yeah, it's like it was like segregated proms like were still in existence. I don't remember where it was. But we read it for book club. I was my book club choice because the librarian I used to work with at my old job told me to read it. And then I made my book club, my neighborhood book club, read it. And then I looked that up and I was like, what the hell? I was so enraged finding that out. But in that situation, it's like all the girl with all the in Maddie's situation, even worse. What happened? Sorry.
I'm sorry. It'd be interesting if they made that into like a movie, that adaptation. That would be interesting.
I was thinking about that as well while I read it. I think in her case, though, even more so than in Carrie's case, I was like, good for her. when she left the town. I think in the book of Carrie, she levels the town too. Like it's not just the school. It's like she literally like makes the town a crater.
Yep. Yep. And I think didn't they do the crater thing in the newer Carrie? Didn't they do that in that one, or was it the other one?
They did. Yeah. The reason why I only saw that the one time was because when it came out, they were saying, "Oh, it's going to be much more true to the book," and then it wound up being pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of the original. Yeah, so I was like off about it. So that's why I never really gave it a second chance. Although I really do think Chloe Grace Moretz did a good job. I will say that I was impressed with her acting.
Yeah. I like all of them. They're really good.
Yeah, I'll watch anything. Like it's like a bad horror is still good. Good horror.
Oh yeah.
It's all fun.
Like bad cheesy horror. The screenplay writer did say that Stephen King had said that the Carrie movie he felt put him on the map.
Yeah. It pretty much did. I mean, like, it was the first of his books to like get any kind of adaptation, and now, like, look how many there are. It's crazy.
Right, so many.
Chris, you found it?
The book was set in Georgia. It doesn't say anything about the story.
Yeah, I forget, but it was somewhere southern.
But yeah, I can believe that.
We did talk about some of the trivia, but I have some other trivia things. I'm curious to see how many of these you already know.
Okay.
All right. So basically the girl who played Chris, Nancy Allen, and Piper Laurie both thought that this movie had to have been a comedy. They were shocked when they saw the ending, like when they saw the end result, because they thought both of their characters were so over the top that they couldn't have been serious, basically.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, she thought that Nancy Allen thought that her and John Travolta's roles were like the comic relief. They thought like that the whole like pig thing was like supposed to be comic relief, but really it's like horrifying.
Right.
Like,
oh yeah.
She's giving him a blowjob and she's like, I hate you, Carrie White. Like, okay, girl, like chill.
Their relationship in this is so odd. Because like you said, like that car scene, she's all flirty, da, 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 and then he's touching her or whatever, and then she's like mean. And then like they keep going back and forth. I'm like, girl, you playing?
Clearly.
So weird. It's a weird relationship.
When I watched them in this movie, I will tell you that I was taken aback at how much she looks like Sydney Sweeney to me, and also how much young Travolta resembles young Ashton Kutcher in that 70s show. I was like, whoa, like they really nailed the Travolta type, like with him. Because I was like, it's almost like blink, it looks like him.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's so funny to me. Piper Laurie's like, I thought it was so ridiculous that like I was like, there's no way that this movie is gonna like come out good. So, Sissy Spacek, while preparing for the movie, apparently isolated herself from the rest of the cast. Like she like had like a separate dressing room, and she decorated her dressing room with like all the crazy like religious iconography, like crosses, I'm sure she had the weird creepy statue. That would be awesome. And she studied this illustrated Bible, and she studied the body language of all the people who were being stoned and like persecuted for their sins. And so she made the choice to start and end every scene in one of those positions. I think that's wild.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is wild. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I can't even imagine. Like she like really immersed herself in that. Like that's gotta like fuck you up.
Preparation for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's incredible in this. Like especially like even like the facial expressions, like when she's at the prom, her eyeballs like are bugging out of her head.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I always thought that she was pretty.
Me too.
And then, she's at the prom and she's got her hair curled and the makeup and the dress. And I thought she looked absolutely gorgeous. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's so pretty. And like also in that shower scene, I'm like, wow, her skin looks so soft. It's like she looks so pretty. Like what?
Yeah.
You were listening to, I think it was How Did This Get Made, right? Where they did the episode on Carrie and she wasn't even supposed to get the part, right?
Right.
And I knew it was like one of those podcasts you listen to. Yeah, apparently she wasn't even supposed to get the part. And she like basically advocated for herself, I think, and like that's how she wound up getting it. Amy Irving, who plays blanking. Oh, Sue Snell. Her actual mother played her mother in the film. And apparently at the end when she like wakes up from that dream and is like freaking the fuck out, the mother like got so upset by it that she says Amy like to her, but it's covered by like the loud music swell. But if you watch in the movie, you can see that she says Amy and not Sue.
I like that. That's a fun fact.
Never saw her daughter like freak out like that. So she was like, I got like she like lost herself in that moment. She was like, oh my God, my daughter. So
I didn't know that was her real mom, but yeah, okay, now I see it. Okay.
It was crazy. I think she's gorgeous too. I was like, how is she like not in more things? Like I would like to see her now to see if she's still like that pretty. Let's see. Oh my God, Stephen King apparently only made $2,500 for the movie rights to Carrie.
Oh. Okay.
He said he was just happy that it like put him on the map, basically. So
right. Okay.
And I noticed this time when I'm watching the movie that the high school, I don't think that the high school name is the same in the book. I can't remember because it's been a minute since I read it, but it was Bates High in the movie. And I was like Norman Bates? And apparently that's what they did that was their tribute to Norman Bates from Psycho. So
that I did know, and you are correct. It was a different name in the book.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I know it wasn't that. And I was like, that's weird. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, so the scene where with the stones, we spoke about that. That actually is in Way to Blood, like her talking to the neighbor girl, and like then like the mom freaks out 'cause she thinks she's a bad influence. Like it happens with the dad in this book. I thought that was pretty cool that they did that.
So is the dad a religious freak or no? Or is he just an asshole?
Yeah, he is. He's a religious freak.
Oh, okay.
A religious freak, and he's like really he like tries to make her hide her blackness, which is also so he's like he makes her like put her hands, like he burns her like as punishment, like instead of like making her go in a closet. I think she does go in a closet too, but the one thing I remember is that he made her burn her hands on like hot curlers or something like that. Like tools that she would use like basically to make her hair straight because he didn't want her to appear mixed race, which is wild also. I think it would be very powerful on the screen, going back to that conversation.
That's a whole race thing happening there too, along with the bullying and everything else. So yeah, I think that would be an interesting option into a movie.
Yeah, again, it really makes you go, good for her at the end of So Chloe Grace Moretz, this is about the remake. So Chloe Grace Moretz didn't watch Carrie while she was doing her version of Carrie because she didn't want to be influenced by anything going on in those movies. She didn't want to copy Sissy. She just wanted to do her own thing, so she didn't watch anything. I'm sure you know this one, that Carrie is not actually Stephen King's first book. It's just the first one that got published. And he had been writing under Richard Bachman before that. I remember the day I found out that Richard Bachman was Stephen King. I was like, what? Shook. Like, I was like, what the heck?
That I did know my mom was a Stephen King fan, so that was like the only scary movie she would watch. I like slashers, so she would always like, why do you like slasher movies? You're so morbid.
Oh, that was another question I had for you. Do you consider this movie a slasher?
No.
I was gonna say it happens all at once. It's like a big old tragedy, but I know that that was like a point of contention on Reddit while I was reading.
No, this is not a slasher.
Yeah, no, because it has to be like one by one, picking them off, like
right.
The vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about these, about fishing it out of the bin, and Carrie being a short story. Oh, so apparently Stephen King got some of his inspiration about the telekinetic portion of the story from a Life article, like from Life magazine, about telekinesis, and about how poltergeist activity could actually just be some kind of telekinesis. So I would like to read that article. I have to like go find it, see if it is on the internet.
I'm sure it is somewhere.
Some of these I couldn't find sources for, so they're like, it's like more like lore than like real facts and trivia. The Carrie character is very similar to Cinderella because the evil mother keeps her kind of locked away. And Stephen King might have intended to leave one of her shoes behind at the prom in the original text. That's lore, Carrie lore right there.
Okay.
I love it. I somehow always find a Disney connection, even in horror. So I did that for.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's my trivia. Oh, and that this was John Travolta's like first role, which I think that's kind of like a known fact at this point.
Right. And then Blowout. Love Blowout.
Yeah. I like Boy in the Plastic Bubble personally.
Oh yes, I love that. I used to watch that when I was a kid.
It used to be on TV a lot for some reason.
It was, yeah.
It was like on Showtime or something stupid, like I actually only heard of that movie because of the movie Superstar with Molly Shannon, because she always quotes Boy in the Plastic Bubble in that movie, and I think that's what like I saw it on TV after that and was like, maybe I'll watch it. But yeah. So we already talked about one of the themes, which was like the clear feminism in Carrie. Another thing I kind of noticed was kind of the just duality in general. Like for some people, prom is like an awesome experience and it's like the most magical night of their lives, and then for other people, prom is like a nightmare and there's drama and lots of anxiety and finding a
Right.
date and stuff like that. So that was another thing that I kind of noticed during my watch through of the movie, was like how this duality in general, and like even with the character of Carrie herself, it's like, was she good or was she evil?
Right.
So I kind of wanted to know where you stand on that. Like, what do you think about Carrie?
I think that she's good. I
Mhm.
think that everybody else and what had happened is what just kind of made her evil there at the end. But I think all in all that she's a good person and a good character and means well.
I don't even think she really meant to do. I think like she
It just
kind of just
happened.
yeah, I think she kind of like went into a blackout state.
Right.
You know, and like there are like certain mental illnesses that will make you do that. So I think like the telekinesis, like you could kind of equate that to like hitting puberty and then realizing that you have a mental illness, like
Right.
something like that. So I thought that was an interesting. It's kind of an interesting conversation point. Chris, where do you land on that? I'm just curious. What do you think? What do you think about Carrie?
Way to put me on the spot.
I know.
Uh,
Tell us your feminist ideals, Chris.
No, I think she's basically a good person who was driven over the edge. Like, she didn't. I don't think she meant to hurt anybody, but once she snaps, like she's not in control anymore. Like you said, she's just lashing out, and whatever's happening is happening. She has no control over it. She's just there. So yeah, no, I don't think she's evil at all.
Mm-mm.
I feel like that's like kind of the popular opinion. Just like from what I saw on the internet, and like I did my Reddit searches and I was looking at the official Carrie discussion post. But what's really the room divider is Sue, like Sue's character, and whether or not Sue Snell is good or bad.
Hmm.
Bringing weight of blood into this, I will tell you that my thoughts of the Sue type character, I forgot what her name was in this book. It was like complete performativism, and it was like she was doing it more for herself, like to feel better about her own like part in bullying the Carrie type character, Maddie. And it was more about like, she was like, I'm a good like proving to herself that she was a good person, whereas like doing a selfless act, it was more selfish than selfless. And I think that's like a really interesting thing as well, because for me that's like, I feel like that's a lot of what we see in the world today. Like, and especially on social media, with like, people share their little Instagram squares sometimes,
Right.
or like, um I'm always conflicted about it, because it's like on one hand it's like you are doing a good thing by raising awareness of certain things, and then on the other hand it's like, well, is it entirely a selfless act? So no.
I think that she was doing that for herself. I
Yeah.
always thought that within the thing. I always thought that she just, like you said, she's doing it for herself to make her feel better about what had happened.
Yeah, and it's not like she's just like an innocent, because I had a teacher who used to say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? Like in terms of like bullying. Sue is 100% in there with the kids. Like, she's not just standing by not doing anything. She's actively throwing tampons at Carrie in the shower.
Right.
So I 100% do think that she was doing it for herself and to feel better. Whether or not she consciously knew she was doing that, like, I think she thinks she's doing a good thing, but like as somebody, like, she needs like kind of a wake up call, I think.
Right.
To be like, girl, look at your own self.
Yeah, because she kept
Yeah.
pushing the subject, even though you can tell he kind of didn't want to do it. And he was like, all right, it's done. She said no. And she's like, no, we're going to do it. And even the teacher is like,
His
don't do
acting
it.
during that,
And she's still like, no, I'm doing, we're doing this. So
his acting during that scene is so funny, because he really acts like a real high school kid would have. Like, I was thinking about like my own students, and I'm like, that's 100% how they would act if they were put on the spot by a teacher like that. He's just like, she's like, we don't care about how we look. Like, she's like talking for him, and he just like sits there and laughs, because he's like, I don't know what to do.
he just smiled like, okay. Like, I want to get
So
class.
cute. I know like the 70s look, is like, oh, look, right? Like, no, but he's a cutie. Like his little hair is like so floofy. You just want to like
Fluffy hair.
pat him on the head. Yeah.
I
I think he was like a really I think he was doing it just because his girlfriend wanted him to, but I do think that he genuinely like he gave her a kiss on the stage. Like I thought that was like really if anything, I think he was the more selfless one. Even though he was kind of forced into it, he did genuinely, I think, form a connection with her.
I think that too. I always thought that too towards the end, that I think that he was having a good time with her, and actually, you know what, I do want to be here with her, and I want to,
Yeah, the dance
make sure
scene.
she has a good time.
Another conversation that I know I've had with people like watching this movie, the dance scene, like very much like, when they're twirling and living their best lives and the music is playing and they're like, we spinning.
Right.
Like, is that really what's happening, or is that just her perception of it? Because she's so like taken into the thing, because when you get to the part where they're all laughing at her on the stage, are they really all laughing at her, or did she just get into such a state that like she, because in the book I think it was kind of like the same thing with the tampon thing, is like everyone just like it was just silent, like they were like, what the fuck just happened, like nobody could really process it. But I think like certain people were definitely laughing at her, but I don't think everyone was laughing at her.
No.
Like Norma, like the PJ Souls really is the champion of this film, though. Like, why is she so cute all the time? Like,
I would like to say the same thing. She's so cute, but she's a little bitch.
Yeah.
Like a little snarky
so
bitch.
Funny. Every time I see her, I just think of what happened, Bob? Cat got your tongue, like with her just boobs out, and but she had the little hat on when they're in the hair salon. She's getting her hair done, and she has the hat on top of the dryer. I was like, oh my god, that's so cute.
It's funny.
I think she just like plays herself. They just give her like these hyper roles where she's kind of an airhead and she's just like living life. But yeah, no, she definitely was really laughing at her because she's like, ah!
Yeah, her and it seemed like, I don't know, I feel like there was probably a couple of the people that started laughing, but I don't think that everybody was laughing because, like you said, she was having her moment, and then the camera is like a kaleidoscope, and she's just like, what? And then she's thinking
anxiety do feel sometimes,
right? Like a kaleidoscope. Yeah.
I get anxious. I 100%. I'm like, are they like if people are like giggling to themselves? I'm like, are they whispering about? Like what the hell's happening? But like I can imagine in her state where it's like that was such a shock to her, and and in the book I kind of felt more like she blamed Tommy for it, whereas in the movie I don't think she did. I think he was just like an unintended victim of that situation because he got hit with the bucket and then was out through all of that. But in the book I feel like it was, if I remember correctly, it was more of a conscious kind of, she thought he was part of it, so she's putting in with. Yeah, Donner, you tell him. Donner thinks bullying is wrong. That's what he wanted everyone to know in this room. Also, going back to PJ Souls, did you know that the hose actually knocked her the fuck out? Like when she passes out?
I did hear about that. Yeah. I see her. Yeah.
Well, I said to Chris, we were watching that part because Chris came up like at the tail end of me watching the movie, and I was just like, that's gonna hurt. Like being shot with like a hose like that, like that's so much pressure. Like that's gonna hurt. Like that could break your bones. Like,
definitely.
She really hurt herself. Like but they left that scene in the movie. That's really her passing the fuck out. So crazy.
Yep. All that whole thing was just interesting. All the different things happening, and the beams falling and crushing people, and the doors and everything. All the practical effects and all that for that was just completely. It was awesome.
I will say the first time I saw that movie, I remember the first time I saw Carrie was I was sitting with like my best friend from like childhood. We watched it at his house in his living room, in the dark, of course, because as you do. And the one thing that creeped me out more than anything, and like it still kind of sends like a little shiver down my spine, is, do you know when the streamers part for her in that scene? I don't know, something about that is so like demonic and creepy to me. Just like they're like little tendrils, and they're like zoop, like they just let her through. That I was reading another article too, saying like all the things in Carrie that Stephen King then like carried over to his other books. Because he like leaves little like Easter eggs and like, the Dark Tower, all of it like comes together, which I know this is gonna make me sound bad too, but I've never read any of the Dark Tower.
I hadn't either.
Not like there's like a lot of parts. So I was like, I did, however, listen to the CD of Nick's band when they did a concept album based on the Dark Tower, which was really cool. I listened to that, but I do not know anything. Except for Pennywise, I think shows up in it. Like I think that's all I know about it.
I don't know nothing about that.
But yeah, it's weird because psychic abilities do come up a lot in Stephen King books. Like now that I think about it, like The Shining.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
So.
That came up a lot back then in 70s and 80s movies, and I don't know. I guess Carrie kind of started it, but there was also that movie with Linda Blair that was also pretty much the same kind of concept. Summer of Fear.
Oh, I've never seen that, but I do love Linda Blair.
Oh, well, then you need to watch that because it's the same kind of concept, but a little different.
We did do a con,
I think she was at Super Mega Fest, and I went up and I told her she was really pretty, and she shook my hand, and I was really happy. I was like, "Hi,
she's awesome.
You pretty." Yeah. She's still really pretty. My God. Like it's so funny to see her in all the yucky makeup because it's like, wow, you're actually really cute. Like
yeah. I had her at the store for a signing, and I'm tiny, but she's tinier than me. And she's got a nice little mouth on her. Like cussing.
I love it.
Because I cuss a lot too. It's like, all right, this works. But yeah.
As a Brooklyn girl, I definitely vibe with that. Like 100%.
Yeah, she was awesome. Totally fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up because that sounds like a fun time. But I'm trying to think of what else we were talking about, like the duality, and we were talking about the psychic. I lost my train of thought because now I'm only thinking about Linda Blair.
Sorry.
Donner's a fan of Linda Blair too. Some of the most disturbing things in this movie, I think, have to do with like people just being awful, which like that's one thing I do admire about Stephen King stuff is like he will like focus on like the horrors of reality. Yeah, like with her when her mother drags her into the closet, that is also very horrific.
Yeah, her mom to me is the scariest thing in here. Her mom is the scariest, and everything that happens to her at home to me is freaky.
Yeah, how do they not know about that at school? Like they're like, oh yeah, like they mentioned her upbringing, and I was like, I guess there was no mandated reporters back then. Like shit.
Right.
Like, also, like teachers can just slap the shit out of students.
I was about to say that.
Damn, I can't do that now as much as I want to sometimes, but you definitely can't do that now. Yeah, that one teacher.
I have a question though. Can you so you know how she well, I know there's detention and stuff still, right? Mm-hmm. I guess. So I mean, can you make the kids stay after and do a physical thing like that though?
I don't think so. I think it's considered corporal punishment now. That's all that stuff is very I think subjective, but in my opinion, nowadays, if a kid complains about it, if it gets back to a parent and then it gets put online, then the teacher's screwed just in general. Right. Not that I'm ever trying to do corporal punishment or anything like that, but somewhere I read at one point, going through my teacher training, was that turning the lights off on your students is corporal punishment. It can be considered corporal punishment if you're flickering the lights or something because it can induce a seizure. I don't know.
Okay.
So who knows, man? But yeah, that teacher slaps the shit out of multiple kids. She slaps the shit out of Carrie while she's having her but it was more to snap her out of it. But she slaps her and she slaps Chris so hard in the face at detention. And also if Chris didn't bug out with 10 minutes, there was only 10 minutes left. She could have made it through those 10 minutes. You did what was it, a 50-minute thing? So she did 40 minutes of workouts to be able to keep her prom, and then at the last 10 minutes is no, fuck this.
Right.
No, you created your own problem.
Yep.
You could have just finished.
Yep. Just win it.
I don't know why she bugged out with 10 minutes left. I was like, you all seem, and also all those girls, I was like, they all seem very fit. But she wasn't really having them do anything that was too crazy.
No.
Like when
I
I was
saw
looking
that girl bunched up in a group, just kind of running right there. It's like
she was like, just run in place. I was like, okay, I could run in place too. Like shit.
right.
And when they were doing the push-ups, oh my god, none of them were really doing push-ups. They were all on their knees. You bitches, you're not even doing it. And she's like yelling at PJ Souls' character. She's like, come on, girl, like or whatever. And she's like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
She had them doing like jumping jacks, which is like not even a real workout. And then she had them doing squats, but they weren't like full squats. It was just like a bend, which actually I feel like is worse for your body because it was basically just all knees. Like it wasn't like they weren't like tightening anything. It was like,
yep.
Yeah. So I was just like, it doesn't seem like a very strenuous workout. I think she could have made it past the 10 minutes. Like she looked like a very able girl. Like,
right. I always thought that too. I was like, what are you doing?
And you know what? Her hair looked perfect through all of it. Like all of them. I was like, all your hair. Mine would have been a frizzy ass mess. Yeah.
They didn't have any sweat on their face. And yeah.
I sweat immediately. Like I feel like if someone looks at me, I sweat. So it's like I was like, none of these bitches are sweaty even. Like, come on. Like, it's fine. That teacher was I've seen like conflicting opinions about the teacher too. Like, was she like in the right to like be involved as much as she was, or do you think she was like doing too much? Oh no, did we freeze? Oh no, she back.
Yeah, you froze.
Did you hear? Did you?
There you go.
Okay. So do you think the teacher was in the right to like be so invested with Carrie, or do you think she was maybe doing too much?
Like at the beginning of the movie with that,
just
or
in general,
the whole thing,
like
yeah, she was probably getting a little too close with her and trying to, I don't know. It's hard because when they're at the mirror and she's showing her how pretty she is and you can curl your hair and do all that, I feel really good in that moment because I feel like, she doesn't have that mother figure at home to tell her these things.
Yeah, I had that same thought too.
A nice moment with them too, being a teacher and kind of doing that. But, the whole beginning of it when she smacks her for the period thing and all that's a little much. But
and they're in the shower, like she's just full on naked, like hugging her. Right. And I was like, that is not okay.
I know, right? And then there's bleeding, and then there's water. It's like,
oh my god! All I have to say is too, like, not that I condone any kind of bullying, but if that girl got her period blood on my shirt, I would be fucking pissed. That's all I'm saying. Like, I would be like, ew, like what? That's so scary. But
it's funny when the principal looks at her shorts and she has the blood on there, and he's just like.
Yeah. The principal who can't get her name right, even though they're like, her name is Carrie. He's like, you're Cassie. Like,
Funny.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? We were talking. Oh yeah, the teacher. I will say though, like as somebody who's worked in the field of education and worked with a lot of different kids, there are like, you don't want to have favorites because it's like they're your children, and like you're not gonna. But there are some kids who just like. I don't know. It's just like it hits different. And it's like, you just want to like be that one person, like to like help a kid out of a sticky situation or, so I do kind of get that. And like when she sees her at the prom having a good time and she's like, is it magical? And she's like, yes, it is. And she's like so happy for her. Like, and then just seeing how she died, like, Carrie didn't have any, like, she didn't really have like her wits about her, I guess is the right thing, because I don't think she ever would have hurt her intentionally.
Yeah, I agree because I mean she didn't really do anything wrong, the teacher or anything, so but she does kind of look at her funny when she she does her little look and then the beam hits her, she says Carrie, so I don't know, maybe she did intentionally do it in that moment because she probably thought that she was in on everything too.
Right. She does have that moment where she said, you can trust me, Carrie. Like she hears the, you can trust me. And she's like, oh yeah, everyone's against me. But when something traumatic does happen to you, it is really hard not to get in that mindset. Like, at least for me, to be like, oh my God, like everyone's an asshole. And it's like, okay, well, only like 2 people were assholes. Like not everyone is out to get you all the time.
Right.
I did feel for the teacher in that. I think like out of everybody, that was the one that hit the hardest for me, like of the deaths.
Yeah, me too.
On the fact that like Sue was like when she got locked out of that, like I wondered, did she go home or was she just outside hearing everybody screaming and dying? Like,
I think she was just outside hearing everybody and screaming. I think that's how it was in the book too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, she was just like, I can't help. Like, yeah, it's wild. Yeah, the other death that really hit home for me, and this is really random, and I don't even know who this character is. You know when they're all going shopping for the fucking tuxedos?
Yes.
Like the 3 boys, and they have the little montage, and there was the guy who they got in the tuxedo t-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't think he was really laughing at her. I was like, there's no way. He was such a sweetie. Like, there's no way.
I
that montage was so cute.
In the prom area, so I didn't see what his reaction was or anything, and I can't remember.
When she's in like kaleidoscope vision, he's in there like laughing, like with the camera. But I was like, I don't think he would, because like he seemed like somebody who was like kind of marched to the beat of his own drum as well. Like, so I can't imagine that he was like somebody who was like popular.
Right.
But that scene with him and the shorter guy, who at one point I thought was John Travolta, like I forgot like the scene. And I was like, John Travolta is that fucking short? And then I was like, oh no, it's a different guy. Just kidding. They all just have the same haircut.
That was a cute little comedy moment in the movie.
When he's like, I don't want ruffles, you don't want ruffles. And they're just like going back and forth. It just reminds me of like my friend group, like when it's like like going shopping with my friends and like trying to pick out an outfit, like, and everyone's yelling at each other. Yeah, good times. But
no man wear ruffles now. Do not
Justice for tuxedo shirt, because that was I was so upset. And the guy with the black hair actually reminded me of Chris knows this. Our friend Andrew, who works at the comic book store, the short guy. I was like, oh, and then I was like upset. But I don't think he did. I don't know if he has an on-screen death, but tuxedo shirt definitely was part of that montage, and I was very upset. Again, justice for tuxedo shirt. We love him. Yeah. Oh my god, that whole scene in slow motion, I was like, it goes on for a really long time, but like I think it's necessary to show all the different nuances of like Sue sees her and then runs, and then the teacher sees Sue and kicks Sue out. Like it's like everything needed to happen for it to be kind of this perfect storm. But I was like, wow, I don't remember this scene being this fucking long. Like
it is long, you're right.
The pig scene is also really long, and the blowjob scene in the car is very long.
Yeah, that does.
I hate
I don't know. I mean, he just goes to like a pig farm and then with a sledgehammer just kills a pig. I don't know.
It's in small towns, apparently.
Yeah.
That was another thing I wanted to bring up. Besides the telekinesis, is like Stephen King is obsessed with small towns.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Did this also take place in Maine?
I don't know.
Or is this before he got obsessed with Maine?
I'm not sure. That's a good question, actually. I don't think it's Maine, but that is a good question.
There's a Billy on the Street episode where he's like, okay, like we're going to do this Stephen King trivia. And it's like on the street. It's like, where does this book take place? It's Maine. Where does the next one take place? It's also Maine. Like it just keeps going.
Nope, it takes place in the town of Chamberlain, Maine.
Oh, it's Maine.
Yeah, there you go. So he's always liked Maine.
I've never been to Maine, but I want to go because I know they have a Stephen King like thing there. So I would love to go. And also lobster. I would love to have some lobster in Maine.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's where to have it.
Is that a day trip or is that long? Okay. One day I'll go to Maine. But yeah. Yeah, I think that the high school must be like Chamberlain High School or something like that. And then it's Bates High School in the movie.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just know that.
What do you know what I feel like if anyone would know this, it would be you. What do you know what they used for the blood in that scene? Is it real pig's blood?
I don't think so. I think that was all the corn syrup stuff.
It looks when it drops on her, you hear like
right.
Nasty.
Like
I was like,
oh.
it bounces back up at her like when it hits her with such force. I'm looking it up. Hold on, because I really want to know.
Yeah, it's Caro syrup.
It is. Yeah, oh
Yeah.
my god, it looks so thick and nasty. And then, like, I was thinking about her, I said to Chris, like, in the next scene where she goes back home, I was like, like, for all these scenes that they had to film, that she had to be disgusting and filthy for all of them. So, like, for multiple days in a row, I don't know how many dresses they had, or if she just had to put on the gross, crusty dress over and over again. Like,
Right.
she had to get nasty over and over again, and I have a lot of respect for her for having done that.
Yeah, that stuff's sticky.
Looks like I was gonna say you would definitely know, right? Is it
I
fun?
do. I
Is it
do.
so fun to be in a horror movie? Because like I always wanted to be in one.
Yeah, I've done a few now. And on each set with each director, something
No.
different. I've learned something new on each set. So that's always nice. I just did Pool Party Massacre and some fun tricks from Joe Castro that he's the special effects artist on there, and I learned about his way of making blood, but it's a secret, so I can't say.
Oh, I was gonna say, I wonder if I guess every horror movie has to have their own like blood recipe.
Well, he learned from Herschel Gordon Lewis. So, I mean, that's the best person to learn how to do blood.
Hells yeah. Hells yeah. We love blood. And I really want to cosplay Carrie. I was just thinking about this. Was like we're going to the Silver Scream Con, which is the one that Ice Nine Kills throws, and then they do their concert. Yeah. Sadly, I'm not going to the concert, but we're going to the show for one day. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to cosplay Carrie, but then I was like, oh, then I have to be like crusty and bloody for the whole day. Like, I don't know if I like want to commit to that. Like, like if I do like a little scary makeup and then I can wash it off, like if we go to dinner. But if I'm like fully covered and caked in blood, like that's not going to be fun.
No, you have to get in the shower and get the shaving cream out. Usually, shaving cream helps get all that off of you.
That's interesting. That's a good hack.
Can I tell you this because it's just one fun little moment that I had being a horror fan. I always tell everybody this. So, I did a movie called Nameless with Tom Devlin that hasn't came out yet, but it's really gory, really bloody. And that one I got full blood on me. And so I get in the shower and I'm actually getting excited in the shower because I'm watching blood come off of me and then go down the drain like I always see.
So satisfying.
And I'm like, oh my God, the blood's running down the drain. And I'm sitting there getting excited about it.
I would too. That's really satisfying.
It was satisfying for me because
oh no,
did a lot, in the horror movie, especially Psycho or whatever. And then now it was like I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is like the horror movie. I love it. It was just I had a fun moment in the shower. Sorry.
Yeah, the part in Psycho where the blood goes down the drain like does live in my brain rent free.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's
satisfying. Just like that. Yeah.
Also, like I'm such a weird little sensory bitch over here. And like I feel like coating myself with like shaving cream. Like I remember like when my dad would let me stand next to him when he was like shaving, and I would be like la 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 la, just like putting it all over and playing with the shaving cream. So I'm like thinking about being covered in blood and having to cover myself in shaving cream, and like that sounds like a lot of fun. Actually,
it's a little messy, but it is fun.
Everything fun is a little messy.
I think so.
Take that as you will.
Exactly.
Speaking of your horror projects, what do you have like coming up like on the horizon that you're allowed to talk about?
So like I said, I just got done shooting Pool Party Massacre 2 with Drew. And then next month, not in July, but August, I will be filming OnlyFangs. Ooh. So I'm in that. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be fun.
Like OnlyFans, but only fangs, right? Yes. I saw the shirt. I remember seeing it on your Instagram, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A&P Productions. They also did Murder Size and a couple other fun little movies. So, yeah, OnlyFangs will be coming out. That, sexy vampires, obviously. Oh, hell yeah. And I think that I'm going to be doing my scene with Ginger Lynn. So I'm excited about that. I have done another horror movie with her that's her movie. It's called Barb and Vic. It's a sequel to another movie she did called The Gifted. And so I do have a part in that she got me in, and that was a lot of fun to work with her. And then this past week, I actually had gotten asked to do a lot of different things. So I had shot a little part for a movie at home called Mad Cow Massacre.
Ooh.
And then I shot another little part for a movie that's going to be called Lilith. Jay Crimson is doing that movie. And then I was asked to do a horror convention documentary. It's going to be called Convention Creeps. It does have an IMDb already, so it's really cool. That will be coming out later in the fall. So I had to do a little 10-minute segment for them. Just my experiences with conventions, being a fan and a vendor. So that was fun. So I've done all that, and I don't know. I got
something to say about the horror community. Like, I feel like it's just the best of the best. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's just like, yeah, like there are so many good eggs in the horror community, and it's like, it's so funny because like we're all like united by like being traumatized by things. So, like,
right.
and like people who are in the horror film industry like are all very close knit, and like just the casts of those different movies and stuff, like just like the indie projects and stuff, like it's just like kind of a labor of love, and like everyone's like loves being scared, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just like so unifying for some reason. I don't know like what it is about that, but
well, we all like being scared, obviously. I know I always have my whole life. I thought scaring people when I was a kid was hilarious. Nobody else thought it was funny, but I thought it was hilarious. My mother is Catholic. She didn't like really go to church or anything when I was born or anything like that, but she went to church when she was a kid, but she still kind of was a little Catholic in her brain. But so she had like a cross, some little crosses and stuff on the wall in her bedroom that she had since she was a kid. I would go in there and turn her crosses upside down.
Oh my god!
My mother, and I would just be snickering and walking away. And then, like an hour later, maybe when she finally discovered it, then I would hear Christy Nicole. I did it to her all the time.
I remember when I was little, I used to hide behind like the way that my front door opened, like we had like the screen door and then like a wood door. So I used to hide behind the wood door, like in the coat rack. And then when my mom would come in, like I would like be able to, like she would open it and then she would close it again. And I would just be standing right there and I'd be like, bleh! And she would like lose her shit every time. Yeah. My mom is really funny to scare too because she's super Brooklyn. So she'd be like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, Amanda. Literally do like the,
oh my God, I love that.
like full on my mom. Am I wrong, Chris? Am I wrong? No, that's
I love that so much.
Yeah, but she's not a horror person at all. But when I was younger, I used to like purposely watch shit that like would scare me and make her read me things that would scare me. And then I would cry about it because I was a fucking wimp. And I would like I would watch Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I would like have nightmares and cry about it. And my mom's like, you don't have to watch these things. I'm like, I know, but I like it. Yep. I was like traumatized by it, but also loved it. There was one episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark that I think about all the time, and it was like vampires, and they all had these band-aids on their necks because they were like being like fed off of. And like, I don't know, I just had this thing for when I was little, I was terrified of blood. Like, like if I bled, I would like scream and cry, like at the top of my lungs, like I was being like abused or beaten. And my mom would be like, oh my God, it's fine. It's just a little cut. You're fine. So I don't know why, like, but now I'm like, whatever. Like, it does not faze me.
Yeah, blood doesn't faze me. I don't like pus. I hate pus. That's gross.
Yeah.
I'm not about pus.
There was this scene, and have you watched Scream Queens? Okay, there was that scene in like one of the first episodes where it was like they cut into her and like she like leaks pus and it's like mayonnaise.
Oh yeah.
And I was I stopped watching it after that. I was like, bro, can't do it.
Yeah, I don't like the pus or puke or anything like that. But blood.
The part of the Exorcist also gets me a little bit. I'm like, nah, it's nasty. It's just I can't look at pea soup the same way.
Right.
But yeah. So let's do our last. I was gonna say we've been droning on for like a hot minute. What would you rate this out of 5 or 10? 5 or 10? What do you guys do? You guys do 10. Yeah, I do 10s too.
Yeah, I do 10. I do 10. I'm gonna say a 9. I don't know what would make it a 10 for me, but I'm gonna say 9 out of 10.
I can agree with that. I know I said the movie is a perfect 10 for me. I think the book is a perfect 10 for me because I do like those little nuances that I talked about. Definitely the book is a 10. Movie probably a 9 or a 9.5 because I like to be discerning and it's hard for me to give things full marks. Weight of Blood, also highly, highly recommend this one. I thought that was an amazing book. Tiffany G. Jackson is just like one of my favorite writers now. Yes, highly recommend this one. This one's 10 out of 10. Carrie's 10 out of 10. Yeah.
I'll have to check out that because that sounds interesting. That
It's a
short
really
take
different
on
thing.
it.
Instead of the newspaper clippings and stuff, it's more of a modern situation. So it's a podcast, like it's like a true crime
Oh.
podcast that they're doing. So I'm like,
Oh,
I
okay.
love that. And I think that if it were to be made into a movie adaptation, I think it would like really lend itself to that. I realized I had annotation flags too. And I don't remember why. I'm sure it was for book club, but I was like, oh look, I annotated. That's cool. But yeah, I guess we could wrap it up there. Thanks for those of you guys who watched. You can find Christy. You want to plug your stuff? Go ahead.
Sure. You can find myself, Nightmare Christy, on Instagram, Twitter, and OnlyFans. I have my link tree is on all of them too, so you can get to all my stuff. I have a Cameo and all that. And then nightmaretoys.com is our website, and Nightmare Toys is on all social media, TikTok, everything, many social media you can think of. We also do the Nightmare podcast, which airs on Fridays, and then I do my live show, Christy Live Show, on Wednesdays at 2:00.
That's awesome. And Chris does wear the Nightmare Toys shirt like all the time, like literally.
Which one you got?
We have just the one that says Nightmare Toys with
Nightmare
a little
Toys?
skull.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's a good logo. The little skull reminds me of Sid from Toy Story's shirt a little bit.
So can I say something about that?
Yeah.
So when we first did that and we did the artwork, my and Philip's art thought process was, okay, we don't want to make the artwork too scary because we want to like make sure it's kid friendly too.
Right.
So that's why it's a cutesy little skull thing. And the funny thing is like we kept being wrong about that. Like everybody, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants things to be extremely scary and spooky. And we're always thinking, okay, customer wise, and plus people who may not necessarily be in horror movie, like horror movies. We got to kind of accommodate for everybody.
Right.
We're trying to do things a little cutesy because of that. And then when we opened Nightmare Cafe, which we don't have open now, we did close that back in March. But when we opened Nightmare Cafe, we were totally wrong. We thought, like, we painted all the walls gray, but we had some artwork and stuff too. And I can tell you this, the people that came in loved the food, drinks, everything. But we got so much shit about our decor. Like, they were like, it's not spooky enough. It's not scary enough. Blah, 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 blah.
Never make anyone happy.
Well, we just thought, like, we don't want it to be dark because you're eating. But no, that's what everybody wants. They want it to be dark. So then we went back and repainted all, the walls black and all kinds of stuff black. And you know what? It really did make a difference, and it did make it better. Our thought process just wasn't correct at the very beginning of it. We just were like, well, we don't want to paint everything black because it's going to be too dark for people to eat. But no, that's what everybody wanted. So, yeah.
We want to not see anybody else in this restaurant. We want to be in blackness.
I am bummed we never got to make it there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We'll come to the store though. Like, I really want to go back to Vegas. Like, I was just talking about this. Like,
y'all, they painted over the artwork at the cafe, and I'm so sad. It's all white now outside. All that beautiful artwork is all gone. It's now there's a little bar around the corner that we were friends with called Cerveza, and they bought it from us. And they took it over, and they're doing like a little Mexican brunch thing now. So now I have a Mexican brunch restaurant next to us. But the fantastic thing is that they bought all of our stuff. So we had, like, we didn't have to like do anything. Like, they just came in, bought all of our stuff, took it, and then that was it. Like, it was a really nice transition for us. And we didn't have to spend on kitchen stuff and all that. They bought everything. So it worked out all right. It was a lot. It was a lot to handle a restaurant bar. I don't necessarily suggest it to anybody unless you want to go broke and have anxiety. Then
on top of that, the store, like, everyone says restaurants are like the hardest. Like, I read.
Oh my God,
the hardest thing. Like,
it is.
Run, you know?
It is. It is. It really is. It was kind of a nightmare, honestly.
Nightmare, but not.
We're very happy. we're very happy with what we did and what we had provided for the community, though, and everybody really loved it. And we had brunch shows, and we had an adult burlesque kind of show that happened on Friday nights. We had shows, we had all kinds of things happening, and then I have my signings at my store, so we had a lot of things happening. But it just became too much, and then Philip had a heart attack, so we had to close. It was
Oh
too
man.
much. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love burlesque. There needs to be more burlesque shows in our area. They used to do a bunch at like
You
this
would
local
love the
venue.
show.
Oh my god, there was one I literally still think about this performance. It was a girl and it was called Death of a Snail, and she came out and it was like a belly dancing thing, but she was dressed like a snail, and like she literally like
Oh,
died. Like she threw salt on herself and like died on the stage, and I was like, it was such a good burlesque number. Like,
oh my gosh. That
she,
sounds
like,
cool.
oh my god, it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, you wouldn't
There was
the show.
also a Handmaid's Tale burlesque number where they did it to
Oh,
that one song from the Pretty Reckless, the Heaven Knows.
yes.
Oh my god, and it was like the two girls like in love. So it was like, oh my god, but they were like ripping off the oh my god, it was fucking fabulous. I was like, yes, and yeah. If I was more confident, I would 100% want to do burlesque. It's just so fucking cool. But
It
yeah,
is. It
Yeah.
is.
shout out to the burlesque babes we love. But yeah, anyway, Christy, and I am Spooky in the Stacks. If you watched, thank you for watching. If you didn't, you are a weenie, and we don't like you. And I will not take you to prom. That's the. I'll
There you
throw
go.
tampons. We're gonna throw tampons on everybody who didn't watch the stream
There
live.
you
Thanks for watching.
go.